It's too bright. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Slide Adrift. My name is Tymon. Essentially, the project at the moment is just doing a whole bunch of upgrades to this boat that I'm on so that I can sail off into the sunset and hopefully get to Fiji pretty soon. In this video, I have 64 individual lithium iron phosphate cells, and I've got a couple of battery management systems, BMSs, and I'm going to turn this all into one big 48 volt 400 amp hour battery bank, essentially made up of two battery banks at 48 volts 200 amp hours each. In this video, it's going to take quite a long amount of time for me to pull the old battery bank and system out and make something for these and install these. But why did I go and make my own lithium battery bank? Well, there's a few reasons, but first of all, if you get a lithium battery, let's say you got a boat or an RV and you get a lithium battery off the shelf, it might look like your conventional battery, but essentially inside, more often than not, you will have four, if it's a 12 volt battery, because these are 3.2 volt. More often than not, you'll just have four of these and a BMS, and that's just all that's inside those batteries. Some other manufacturers like Battleborn use a whole heap of tiny little cylindrical cells, like 100 or something. But more often than not, it's always these cylindrical cells. I chose to make this whole battery bank myself because I found the actual manufacturer in China for these cells and these BMSs. Everything I use in this video, there'll be a link in the description if you want to get that. So these cells are hardcore lithium iron phosphate cells. They're used in mining machinery and mining equipment, and they have a very high discharge and charge rate. I think the discharge is either 2C or 3C. I'm just confirming at the moment with the manufacturer because it sort of differs on the internet from what you see. But a 2C discharge rate is absolutely plenty. That means 2C, if my battery bank can hold 400 amps at 48 volts, I can essentially safely, as far as the cells are concerned, push 800 amps out of that, which is way more than what I need. I will be pushing up to 300 and something amps out because this whole boat is going electric, including the diesel will be coming out. That'll be the next thing after these batteries. The diesel's coming out and I'm putting in an electric motor as well. In Australia, at least, I can't find anything off the shelf that rivals these cells. I need something that is able to pull energy out of the batteries and put energy back in as quickly as possible without damaging the cells. Obviously, I'm going to have high loads. The electric motor can pull up to this many amps, and then obviously I'm going to have my induction equipment and all the other loads on the boat as well. This is the difference between lithium ion cells. It's the build quality and it's the amount of charge and discharge rates that they can basically handle and the quality of materials used. So I found the manufacturer for these. I've got 64 of these and I'll be installing all those. And then you've got your battery management system. This is from a company called Daly. As far as your DIY is concerned, these are considered the best on the market. A link in the description as well. This here is just for a 12 volt battery. I've just got this here, these four cells in this little housing that they can send out as well. I've just got that here just so I can show you this. But this BMS, that's essentially, it's vital basically for if you're doing your own battery bank. And what it does, it will balance these cells, lithium iron phosphate cells. They need to be balanced, otherwise the pack is going to be working inefficiently and you're either going to be abusing some cells or not using some cells. So you really do need a BMS to balance all the cells, and then there's a whole bunch of other features built into this, like there's all sorts of high discharge, high temperature cutoff, high voltage cutoff, low voltage cutoff. Basically, this does everything. So you would not want to build your own lithium battery bank without having some BMSs. This one's a quite small one. This is a 100 amp one for a 12 volt. but I've got 300 amp ones down in the quarter berth below. When it comes to DIY, I have saved a lot of money. Essentially, if we're talking 12 volt, I'm gonna have 16 12 volt batteries. 19,200, I think it is. This many kilowatt hours of power. If I was to find a supplier off the shelf that could supply a battery that could rival the specs that I've got for these, I would be paying up to, who knows, up to maybe 16,000 Australian dollars to get it here in Australia, whereas for all the batteries that I bought, it cost me $9,000, I think, $9,000. And the BMSs, I think, were about $1,000 total as well, because I've bought a few spares. When you have an off-the-shelf lithium phosphate battery and it goes bad, 99% of the time it's the BMS. And so your cells are absolutely fine and your BMS usually packs it in. So off the shelf, if your battery stopped working and it was in like 3 years and you were wondering, could I fix it, and you open it up and you actually try and replace this, that's fair enough. But if you're going to buy one off the shelf, no one's going to be opening up those batteries and pulling out the cells and finding the BMS and then going to all the trouble. You know, only the DIY people are going to be doing that, and that's why another reason I've gone down this route. So if a cell goes down, I can swap out that individual cell, but more importantly, if the BMS goes down, I can just swap that out, and hopefully these cells will last me, 8 to 10 years. So when you get your pack off the shelf, it will be all balanced and ready to go. But if you buy your cells like I did from the manufacturer with the BMS, what you're going to have to do, charge these up. So you put this together, and I'll show you how simple that is. So again, just to be aware, this is only a 12 volt. This is actually my 12 volt battery as a little buffer battery for my 12 volt system. With these battery housings that they can send out as well, it makes it so much easier. So that goes in there, that goes on there. Okay, so you got your 12 volt battery there, and then you would install that however you needed it in your boat, and then your BMS, I'm not going to go into fuses and all that, but your BMS would connect to the main, your main system negative, so where your negative comes into the battery, and this other one will go to the actual negative of the battery. And then you want to charge this up to 95%. All the cells need to be perfectly top balanced in order for them to work it most efficiently. So in order to do that, you're going to see me, I'm going to charge my batteries, and you would charge your battery up to 95%. And then this is a bit of a mess around this part. You're going to have to pull your batteries out. You're going to have to put them all in parallel. So you're making one 3.2 volt battery bank, however big it is, I'm going to have 64 eventually in parallel. And then you get a desktop bench supply with a constant voltage of 3.65 volts, and you hook that up, and that will essentially push 3.65 volts in, and the amperage will just slowly go down to 0. And when it goes down to 0, that means every single cell is going to be at 3.65 volts, 100%, and they're going to be exactly even. Yeah, and then from there, you'll have to reassemble it into the configuration that you want. Throw the BMSs back on, and you've got your battery bank. It's a good idea. Initially with the cells, when I bought these, my cells are actually a year old. It's taken me a year to, with all the stuff that's happened in the previous year, to actually get them in the boat. What you really want to do is, even the manufacturer that I bought these off, that I did a lot of research to find, and that will be listed in the description, you always want to be double checking who it's coming from. And then when your cells get here, it's a good idea with one of these to check the internal resistance of the cells that you've got, and it's a good idea with one of these to measure the capacity of your cells, and make sure you've got 100 amp hours or whatever you buy, because Alibaba and AliExpress even more so, it's like the Wild West. I don't know if you'll remember when eBay came out, but eBay was like the Wild West, and a lot of people were getting ripped off, so definitely be careful there. But yeah, you want to be charging it up to 100% and then discharging it with the little thing and seeing what the capacity of that, and make sure you are getting what the manufacturer says that you're getting. So I did that originally with the cells. I'm not going to do it again. And then that's basically it. Once that's all done, then you're good to go. It does look, I call it the Frankenstein battery because it does look very DIY. But yeah, I enjoy saving money and not paying maximum amount of money for people off the shelf that are just doing the same thing. I just enjoy knowing exactly what's going on in my boat and how everything works. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. So first thing, rip out those. Put them somewhere else. Oh, that was pretty loose. Oh my God. This is just getting stupid. Alrighty-o, batteries are out. I've got them for sale on the internet. Hopefully someone buys them. They're pretty damn cheap. Basically giving them away. It'd be a shame to scrap them. Basically, this is the old box here. Might have to rip that out actually. Yep. It is gross outside. A good day to be working inside. I have figured out the battery configuration. It's a shame because inside this box that's actually already there, I would be able to get 64 cells in there, which is crazy considering the last battery bank was 775 at 12 volts. And then this would be, so that's about 3.3 times the usable power in the same amount of space. So that's so good. That's pretty crazy. So unfortunately though, instead of having weird bus bar configurations and making this all fit in there, I would rather have it symmetrical and all looking nice, and have the two different battery banks clearly separate, and also have the main negatives and main positives coming out the very end here, because the electric motor is going to go underneath there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to make a box that will be just 2 cells longer. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to measure these up. So 8 long, 4 deep, and also there's going to be a whole nother pack there, but I'll have to separate them, those two, somehow as well, so they're clearly defined. Build a whole nother box from scratch with marine ply. Yeah, anywho. Well, it's sort of getting there. No, chopped garlic, that's not part of it. Okay, what I'm up to now is I'm just gonna make a small support through here, little triangular bit with this offcut here, and then over here I'm going to make a big support just large enough to fit the BMS, one on each side for the 2 packs. Yeah, and after that I will make the lid essentially. Okay, she's more or less done. I was thinking I would latch the top to the bottom part so the top could come off easily, and I could get to the actual batteries. But now I'm half thinking I might just put 3 ratchet straps on, because obviously I want to make this bomb proof, and I can't assume that the boat isn't going to go turtle and go over pitch pole or whatever in big seas. So I have to know that if in the unlikely event of that happening, all of this isn't just going to turn into chaos, and it's going to be super solid. So it is crazy how long things take. Things take so long. This tiny little box It's taking me, I don't know, ages, days and days, lots of time. Keep going, keep going, keep going. This is a part of my boat I've never seen before. See this here? This was just 316, just a threaded bolt welded to this tiny little bit here. So this means, in my mind, that sometime in the past, probably a long time ago, someone, instead of having one nut to put on this, had a stainless steel 316 welder and just welded a tiny little bit on there. That is that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that. Instead of going off and getting one extra nut, you've got a welder on board, and it's easier to weld a tiny little bit of this so you can do the whole thing up. Anyway, rightio, those 4 brackets are in. Alrighty, I have just had my porridge and I am sufficiently caffeinated, you might be able to tell. Rightio, time to epoxy that thing and that thing. That's the lid to that thing. The epoxy that I'll be using is 105, 206 and 205. I chose West Systems because of the little pump system that came with it. This is a 5-to-1, so you've got a little pump system, and the other one's about 4 liters, I think. And so with each pump, so you'll just go 1 pump of this, 1 pump of that, and then it'll just mix it for me. So that's why I'm going this. Okay, that's 1 coat done. Just on my way over to help basically a neighbour. It looks like his headsail has been caught by one of the ropes, so he can only get the headsail in about 2/3. So there's third of it still sticking out. Man, he comes so close to my boat because the wind is obviously pushing the boat with that little bit of headsail that's out and flapping. But just on my one wheel now, trying to get across to the other side, see if I can give him some help. It's amazing how quickly like something can like disable the boat. So that was the furling line got jammed. Not sure exactly yet. I'll probably find out. I've got a feeling they're going to ask me to go up their mast for them, which is not going to be a problem. I don't know if you can still hear, but his poor headsail's still flapping around. Yeah, so I tried to explain this on my way back on the one wheel, but it was too windy. Basically, what's happened is his roller furler's jammed, and I've seen this a lot over the internet, and it's pretty crazy how quickly a sailboat can just get totally, well, not totally disabled, but essentially disabled, you know. I'm just gonna go outside and have a look. Yeah, so I heard the sound. I heard the sound of his headsail flapping, and then I was like, what's that noise? And I come out and had a look, and I thought he was trying to sail onto his berth or something crazy. With this straight easterly wind, I probably would have tucked right up against Stradbroke Island and the first chance I could get an anchor and just try and drop that headsail. I feel like, yeah, but I guess if you're anchored, then you run the risk of the boat wanting to sort of try and sail away. So I guess yeah, it's hard to say what you'd do in a particular situation or not, but man, that sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, roller furlers, I guess that's the one big downside to them. When they don't work, not only do they not work properly, they usually stop the rest of the boat from working. Well, unfortunately, this video is way too long. I am editing the second one as we speak, so it will be coming out next week from whenever you're seeing this. Yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.